let's talk a little bit about the history of the hotel and kind of lay the groundwork for why we're even talking about this today. And this, what many coined to be the most famous North American haunted hotspot. So a little bit about the Estes Valley, which is in Colorado. It's right on the outside of the Rocky Mountain National Park. And this area was home to the Ute and Arapaho tribes for nearly 10,000 years. So they roamed this area, which is like a very wild area, lots of elk, lots of bison, the free flowing rivers for many years before anybody even moved to the area. The Earl of Dunraven first visited the area in 1872, and he kind of stole the land. He stole the land, about 6,000 acres of it, for his own private hunting reserve, which I think is really interesting. And he was a sportsman. He loved the streams, the meadows, the fish, all of it, but he didn't make any friends with the local ranchers because he came in, and that was during the time when the U.S. was deeding land, and he had people help purchase the land for him because he was from, I believe, Ireland. Anyways.
So like a bunch of people just started buying land on his behalf?
On his behalf, yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. Yeah, he was an Irish baronet. So he didn't make any friends because he felt, a lot of people felt like he was really, stealing the land from them. Which I think lends itself to an interesting part of this whole story when we get to the Stanley Hotel, because he wasn't making any friends. Mm-hmm. He was kind of like a big business magnet. So he brought in a lot of money. He brought in a lot of old money, and it brought in a lot of people to the area. What's interesting about it is he built the Estes Park Hotel in 1878. What's interesting is in 1911, a fire destroyed this hotel, leaving nothing but just the rubble behind.
Yeah, here's your sign, right?
Yeah. You know how it was started?
Say it again.
Do you know how the fire was started?
I do not know how the fire was started, but it's interesting because the fire, Estes Park and the Stanley Hotel has seen a lot of different natural disasters, one of which being the fire has come or has ripped through the Stanley Hotel as well, which is interesting given kind of what's happened here on the land. So if we keep going, in 1903, Freeland Oscar Stanley, also known as F.O. Stanley, is a very famous inventor. You guys might know the Stanley steamer. So the Stanley steamer,
car, not the cleaning company, right?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that is Stanley steamer, the car, is what he invented. And he was him and his brother were well known for the Stanley steamer. The cleaning company, Stanley Steamer, actually got their name from the Stanley Steamer car, but they're not affiliated. I think that was yeah. So he had a life-threatening case of tuberculosis, and his doctor recommended the best treatment for tuberculosis back in the day was fresh mountain air, high altitude, and lots of sunshine.
Oh, wow.
He came west. He was from the East Coast, and he came west. And his doctor really gave him no more than 6 months to live. And he ended up thriving in Colorado, especially the Estes Valley. And this was a place he only frequented in the summertime. And what was interesting about it is he decided he wanted to kind of make a stay there in the Estes Valley. So he decided to build a hotel. And it was really his vision to build a hotel that would serve kind of the upper class, the upper echelon of people. And he did that. And he moved there and built a home for him and his wife, Flora, and they lived there for about 8 years. And then he decided to build the Stanley Hotel. what's interesting about the Stanley Hotel is he wanted to name it, I think,
the Dunraven.
Yes, the Dunraven.
Yeah.
And then they had a petition of people that said, absolutely not. You cannot name it the Dunraven because Earl of Dunraven made such a name for himself. And they said no.
He was like a big butthead, and everyone's
like a bad name.
Do not name your hotel after him.
No. So he named it the Stanley Hotel. And what was interesting about this resort kind of at the turn of the century was it had imagine this. It had electricity, it had running water. It didn't have heat because it was only open in the summertime.
Because it's on the side of a mountain, right? Like it's dug into the side of the mountain.
He was responsible for bringing water to the Estes Valley. He was responsible for helping set up the Fall River hydro plant, which I think is really fascinating. So the hotel,
he did that for the hotel though, right? Like he set up the hydro plant in order to power the hotel. And it was beneficial because it also powered the town.
Yeah, which was huge, right? Which is huge in this time. We're talking on the cusp of electricity here. Mm-hmm. So these hotel rooms had the fully electric hotel, which was big, a hydraulic elevator, which is kind of unheard of, telephones in every room. And then there were 48 rooms initially in the hotel, and each pair sharing a bathroom. He also helped build, or the Stanley Hotel included a concert hall, which was really a gift to his wife, Flora, who he also included a piano in the concert hall, and she loved to play the piano. This is an important part of what we'll be discussing tonight. So guests early on enjoyed playing golf, bowling, horseback riding, motor excursions, formal dinners, concerts, and then billiards. So it was really like a really fun place to get away.
Feels like it might have been like the Colorado Catskills, right? Like a Catskillsy version, but Colorado style.
You know, what's interesting, when I was doing some research on this, I thought it was interesting to learn that he really kind of had a say in who would stay at the hotel. Oh. He was kind of he only wanted the upper echelon people, and he elitist. Was often a little bit of an elitist. He would sit in the lobby sometimes and nod to the reception staff about whether they could stay or not, and that often meant turning people away, so then nobody could stay. So there was a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe I don't know.
Seems like it would draw a little bit of animosity, right? Like I feel like that would just piss people off to no end. Like, okay, I'm not good enough to stay at your hotel.
Yeah, this was the Stanley guy?
Yeah, this was F.O. Stanley, yes.
See, what I saw was that he was a nice guy, so he was actually not, like, in my research.
Well, I think he
nicer than Dunraven.
I think he was. I just think that I don't know, maybe he was trying to uphold a certain standard in the hotel, and keep it a certain way. So it opened July 4th, 1909, and it became like the premier destination west of the Mississippi. Like it was the place to stay. So Eric, if you could put the slide deck up, let's show some pictures of the Stanley Hotel. Okay, so you'll notice here it is a colonial revival hotel built really with the architecture from that East Coast feel, because F.O. Stanley was from the East Coast. And it is now the oldest hotel in Estes Park, which I think is fascinating.
It kind of looks like that hotel that that the president has like a secret lair underneath. So like if there's a natural disaster or a major national emergency, they go and hide in this special hotel underground. Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
Where is that? Yeah.
Something like Virginia or...
Oh.
Anyways, that was a digression. But it has a similar look to
that in a movie. Was that in a movie somewhere?
No, that's a real thing.
It's a real thing?
It's a real thing. Yeah, I think so.
Like a fortress
I'm
underground?
pretty sure. Yeah. Like a whole
Okay.
fort underground that has like a bunch of them from my preparedness days. I just remember these
All
things.
right. Okay, good.
Greenbrier. Thank you, Jason. Yes.
Greenbrier. Oh, why
Yeah.
have I not ever heard of this? I need to research this.
It looks very similar. So a very like
Oh,
upper
stately.
echelon.
Mhm.
Yes, stately. Stately is a perfect word for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so sorry.
it's very regal
Mhm.
and it's beautiful. It's quite beautiful. Let's go to the next slide. We have a couple. So this was probably at the turn of the century. You see the women in their dresses, and this might have been shortly after it was built.
Mhm.
1910 in the bottom right corner.
Thank you.
What?
1910. It was built in 1910, a year old. Okay, so let's keep going. Next slide.
Keep it on.
Yeah, just some further pictures here. The cool thing about the hotel is it's literally 5 miles outside of Rocky Mountain National Park. Now, at the time that it was built, Rocky Mountain National Park was not a national park in our park system. So it was just kind of like free for all. The land was kind of this, whoever the land was deeded to or whoever had bought land. And he had bought land at this time.